Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, depending on where you're watching from. This is Leadership Talk with Adigoke, the 91st edition, 91st, 91, yes. Um, we are so thankful for the last day in the month of September, and we're going into the month of October, which is the last quarter for the year. It's been an amazing year. We're so thankful, particularly this is the 29th podcast for the year. 29th, yeah. 29th podcast, I believe. And we're averaging 3 podcasts every month since January. And so grateful to be alive and well, to be adding value globally and also locally. So we're looking at leadership and managing expectations. Leadership and managing expectations. I've had, quite a bit of, exciting expectations for the year. And I'm thankful that, so far so good. We've been able to achieve huge milestones. But I must say that there are also some expectations that we're still looking forward to, the next 90 days and trusting God that those expectations been met. It cuts across different areas of our lives. It could be personal expectations, it could be work expectations, it could be financial expectations. And that's why it's also always important to set goals. For Leadership Talk with Adegoke, we've set goals in various areas, and we've been able to do quite a bit. We've had sponsorship, we've had so many things going on for us, even as a brand, and we keep on showing up irrespective of what the environment is saying. With the cost of living crisis, the cost of items have gone up. Even in terms of running your business, you made projections, you need to recalibrate, and not just limited to one country, but most nations are going through a recalibration. So in terms of expectations, you find that personally for us, some might be overwhelmed and be wondering, how do I continue to go through? How do I continue to navigate through the landmines? But I just want to speak to this subject matter very quickly. Setting goals basically takes so much from us. It pushes us in various directions as we set those goals. But the challenge now is, how do we manage those expectations? How do we go above and beyond? How do we stay motivated in an uncertain world and still continue to deliver on our promises? It's not always going to be easy. One of the things that I told myself in the first week of January, or the revelation I had, 3 things that I was able to receive. I'm a person of faith. I received 3 things that I should do in 2022. The first thing was to have clarity, to consistency and collaboration. Clarity, consistency, and collaboration. So irrespective of what is going to happen during the year, I was so clear about where I was heading to. Then also I knew that I had to be consistent. Our consistency is something that a lot of us have a challenge with. Today we appear, tomorrow we don't appear. And I also knew that I couldn't achieve it alone, so I needed to collaborate. So I've been able to do that, collaborate with so many people, show up on the podcast, and it has helped us to, leverage on so many opportunities. So we're going to look at managing expectations. How do you manage your expectations? Remember that certain things might not be in your control. When you look at the cost of living crisis, even in the UK, as a result of the mini budget that was released recently, the pound to the dollar has there's been a yo-yo movement, and even those who have made projections are finding it very difficult to, keep up. Even locally in Nigeria as well, we've had, the rate of inflation move up to over 20%. A few months back, it was still hovering around 17 point something percent. And also the interest rates has just been moved from 14 to 15.5%. So for someone who is borrowed, his cost of borrowing has gone up, cost of goods have gone up, almost about 80% as opposed to last year. So when you look at those things, factor it in for any discerning person, is like, how do I navigate through these challenges? But I would like to say that, one has to have the right mindset, and remain focused, and know that, there's always opportunities abound. I was on a podcast with some of my colleagues on the Maxwell Leadership. We were talking about how to be financially intelligent. You have to gain a lot of knowledge. You have to be aware of what is happening around you, and so that even while you have expectations, you can adapt as you go along. So very quickly, what are some of the expectations that we have? Number one, the first expectation is that you believe that everything will go well. That's the truth. We believe that everything will go well. So once there's a bump in the road, it can push you out of your path. It's always important to know that even while you plan that everything will go well, you should also anticipate that things might not go well. Oftentimes, we believe that everything will always go well. We never knew that after COVID, Ukraine was going to come into the picture. And with Ukraine, there's a lot of pressure globally right now. And so for whether local businesses or global businesses, the challenge is how do we continue to produce the same results. Companies are containing costs, trying to shrink in terms of the expenses, the capex, capital expenditure. And so things would always have, their own, be a narrative, but we have to stay focused. So number one, things might not go well all the time, but there's one should be agile. Number two, feeling that you'll be understood, that people will always understand you. Sometimes, or oftentimes, it's important to realize that not everybody will understand you. When you set out your vision, you might not be able to get everyone on board. So you have to keep on pushing. And eventually, as you build momentum, those who are, part of your vision, they will come on board. But it's not about the multitude. It can be a lonely path when you are set out, you have an agenda. For those of us that have been in the entrepreneurship space, creating content, adding value in the last 2 decades, sometimes it can be very lonely. So you need to manage your expectations that, look, everybody would not sign on into the idea that you have. So you need to be aware that it might be lonely, but definitely as you move along, there'll be more clarity. And I was saying that, recently, that if you want to make a lot of, impact, it doesn't come overnight. There's nothing like overnight success. It's years and years of pushing the narrative and putting yourself out there. Because sometimes we might think that it's just going to be a walk in the park. The story of the Chinese bamboo tree, the experience is, the Chinese bamboo tree, not until after 5 years before you begin to see the tree sprouts. And within a space of 6 months or thereabout, it grows to about 80 feet and even in width, very wide. So, but for the first few years, no one sees. So you might just be there, pushing out, trying to add value, and no one is recognizing what you're doing. The expectation that you have initially is that, once you come out there or you create a product or you have an idea, everyone will buy it. So no, it doesn't happen like that. So you need to manage your expectations and just go along, irrespective of the fact that people might not show up, you might not be selling volumes, but eventually there'll be a payoff at the back end. So the front end usually, it takes a lot of energy to show up, but at the back end there's always a payday. So you might be misunderstood even by your family. You might be misunderstood by your friends. Once your vision is clear and you're consistent, and also you collaborate, eventually it will pay off. I just have two more points, and that will be it. But what I'm trying to say to us is that we should manage our expectations. We, as leaders, there's a lot of enthusiasm about what we're doing, but sometimes you don't have all the the factors, or you can't have everything ticked. You can try and tick it off, but life has its own challenges. So it's always important to realize that you cannot have everything under control. It's only God that has the ability to control all things. So don't condemn yourself, don't kick yourself. Just try and manage your expectations. You might have challenges along the way. You might be misunderstood by people. Things might not work out the way you expected, but don't be overwhelmed. Eventually, at the back end, like I said, there would always be, the rainbow. The rainbow will come out. Now, the third point is when you try to manage your expectations, sometimes you expect feedback from people, and you don't get that feedback. And sometimes people, particularly in the social media, because of the number of likes, they're moved by the number of likes. And when you don't get a lot of likes for your post, sometimes you might feel discouraged. You have to be fully persuaded about your mission, your agenda, your objective, what you want to do. And once you receive that clarity, it's good to have accountability partners, but even sometimes the accountability partners might also be overwhelmed. They might be having their own challenges. So you have to go out there and shine and show up. Recently I wanted to get an input from a learned friend of mine. I kept on calling him, trying to get his feedback. But I said to myself, if I continue to wait for this gentleman and he doesn't show up, what do I do? So I went into, the reset mode. I had to recalibrate. I went through the documents, had to go through it and ask the Holy Spirit to help me. And boom, I got clarity. So it's not all the time that you get feedback, either from your teammates or even from fellow co-professionals. So don't be swayed or don't be discouraged if you don't get feedback, because sometimes we always expect too much from people, but people have their own issues. So don't be overwhelmed by what you are not getting from the world. The scripture says that if God is for us, who can be against us? So God is number one. Self-awareness is very important. I remember several years ago, I went to a gentleman and I was expecting him to validate me in the early days of my business. And I couldn't see him. I waited endlessly. And I just said, the Holy Spirit tell me that, God just said to me, I'm a person of faith, that I will validate you. And since then, God has been the one validating me, because sometimes we expect so much that we'll get feedback. Feedback is good for every business, don't get me wrong, feedback is good, but sometimes when you don't get feedback, don't be discouraged. just keep on pushing, and eventually things will pan out. Then finally, I would like to say that, in terms of managing your expectations, you need to also sharpen your skills. Sharpen your skills. Are you gaining new knowledge? Because if you think that the world will continue to respond to your business and continue to buy from you, competitors are out there. People are growing their ideas are moving, all over the place. We talked about financial intelligence. You have to stay connected. What do you know? What new information, what new knowledge do you have? Okay, so don't think that, because customers are buying from you or because you have a lot of patronage, things will stay the same. You have to learn new knowledge, get into new spaces, add value, expand your influence, expand your reach, expand your impact, and definitely you stay ahead of the curve, because businesses such as Kodak, the businesses that think that they're just there and customers will continue to come, they will fizzle out, they become extinct. So what new knowledge are you gaining, or are you going to learn in the next 90 days, so that by the time you're entering 2023, in a brand new year, you still stay relevant, you still stay fresh ahead of the curve. So it's very important that we manage our expectations. It's not about expecting that things will always be under our control. Yeah, the only way is how we respond. How do you respond? What mindset do you have, and how are you able to add value irrespective of the challenges that is operating or existing around you? So I just like to do a recap. How do you manage your expectations? Knowing fully well that you might not always have things under your control. You cannot control things that are happening around you, but it's how you respond. Then secondly, you might be misunderstood. It's not everybody that would buy into your idea, so it can be a lonely road for you in adding value. It's also important to know that once you gain clarity and you're consistent, and you're able to collaborate, eventually you get some decent reward at the back end. Then also feedback. How does feedback? How do you get feedback? Sometimes also you need to manage your expectations that you might not always get feedback all the time. So you need to also be aware that you must have that instinct, that conviction in you that would help you to get by even when your accountability partners are not available. Very important. Then finally, in terms of your skills, I want to say that I'm thankful that I've learned new things. I've gotten into new spaces this year, but it's important to realize that we need to acquire new skills all the time. Acquire new skills. So, because the fact that you are relevant today doesn't mean you'll be relevant in the next few months. But the only way you can do that is by acquiring new skills. What new knowledge are you going to learn in the next 90 days? So as leaders, for us to show up continually, we must manage our expectations and manage it in such a manner that shows that we are ready to, provide the needed impact, the influence, and income will eventually come our way. So this is the 92nd podcast of Leadership Talk with Adegoke, and I'm so pleased to be here to add value on the last day of September 2022. Please, I also like you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Leadership with Adegoke Omotola, YouTube, and our courses are on Udemy, World Class Customer Service, Professional Selling Skills, and Fundamentals of Business Etiquette on udemy.com. And my book, Customer Retention and Experiential Approach, is on Amazon, and Selling in Crisis is also on Amazon. So you'd like to follow me as well. I'm on Instagram as Adegoke Omotola, and also on LinkedIn as Adegoke Omotola, and as well on Facebook as Coach Adegoke Omotola. So it's been a great time, adding value. I just want to be I'm full of appreciation for your followership. And this is Leadership Talk with Adegoke, leadership and managing expectations. Have a great day. Thank you.